It's Thursday, September 29. In the headlines, $360 million in damages from Tropical Storm Ian. The Education Ministry's position on school uniforms. Regionally, Barbados expecting increased tourist arrivals from Canada. And in sports, Jamaica Talawas versus Guyana Amazon Warriors. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Tropical Storm Ian swept the island, leaving just about $360 million in damages. Speaking in Parliament Wednesday afternoon, Prime Minister Andrew Holness said the figure could increase as the National Works Agency continues its assessment.
The very preliminary estimates to reopen roads and make surfaces drivable is $360 million. Preliminary, it might increase a little bit more, but thankfully, Madam Speaker, it is not in the billions. So the Minister of Finance is sitting very easy, very calm.
Mr. Holness says he will update Parliament in the next 2 weeks on the cost of permanent repairs, including retaining walls, which he said might push the repair bill higher. The Prime Minister adds that no significant allocation will be made to the National Works Agency for repairs to roadways affected by the passage of the storm.
We're not expecting that there will be any significant new budget allocations for the repairs. So the NWA would have to look in its budget to see how these repairs can be addressed.
Mr. Holness says approximately 47 roads were badly affected by landslides, downed trees and flooding. Most of the damage was in St. Catherine and Clarendon.
There are reports of damaged roads to varying degrees, especially in low-lying areas. The NWA's initial assessment is that approximately 47 roads were badly affected by landslides, mud flows, downed trees, or inundation, which rendered some communities inaccessible and some communities were marooned. But, Madam Speaker, as of now, as I've said, the floodwaters have receded and communities which were previously inaccessible would have now their access would have been restored.
The National Water Commission, NWC, is hoping to shave millions of dollars from its $1.1 billion monthly electricity bill with Thursday's project launch for the Mona Reservoir floating solar system. NWC Chairman Michael Shaw says this project should result in customers seeing a reduction in their bills as the NWC reaps the benefits of the system.
This is going to be a game changer and one of the biggest investment that this country has ever seen. We therefore contemplate and consider the potential savings that this is going to have on our country and the trickle-down effect to our consumers.
The London-based Derillion Energy Limited is funding the construction of a 45-megawatt floating solar plant at a cost of US $62.5 million. Derillion Energy founder Simon Pigott says when completed, it will be the fifth largest solar project in the world. The benefits of the project include clean, renewable energy and a reduction in the Mona Reservoir processing energy costs.
At the moment, we've completed a survey, understood what's going on there and the silt that's been built up over the years, and our goal is to remove that to increase your capacity and give you more growth. The second step is, by covering the entire reservoir in solar, we reduce evaporation. So we reduce the losses you've got here, which obviously saves more water and saves costs. The second part of our project is in integration. Doing a normal solar project would involve either a ground mount or a roof mounted system. Those have their own specialities, their own way of doing things. But the integration of the system on the Mona Reservoir would integrate solar and energy storage and grid stability in one package.
Senator Matthew Samuda, Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, also points out that the NWC is the Jamaica Public Service Company's largest customer.
This project, Prime Minister, will benefit NWC to the tune of $1 billion Jamaican dollars annually. That changes Mark's ability to control the NWC, to manage his payments, to implement projects. Prime Minister, that allows us to honor your mandate and commitment to the people of Jamaica and get more people connected to potable water.
The overall project is expected to be completed by the end of the first quarter of 2024. Prime Minister Andrew Holness wants Jamaicans to embrace the various infrastructure projects being planned and implemented by the government and its agencies. Speaking at the project launch for Mona Reservoir floating solar PV plant this week, he said the road work and housing projects redound to the benefit of all Jamaicans.
I want Jamaica to adopt a forward-leaning posture in its modern development. I want Jamaica to adopt a forward-leaning posture in its modern development.
He says that much of the nation's current aging infrastructure have reached their limits. Minister of Education and Youth Favour Williams says her ministry will allow school administrators to enforce rules regarding school uniforms. There have been ongoing public debates regarding school uniform rules, which escalated with the resumption of full face-to-face classes this September. There's more in this report.
The Education Minister addressed the matter during this week's post-cabinet press briefing at Jamaica House.
It is not currently done, and it is not our intention to prescribe the length of a girl's uniform or the length of a boy's pants or the size of it. We leave those decisions to our boards in our schools, and each of our schools has a board comprising a parent rep, a student rep, depending on if you're primary versus high school. We have principal, sometimes vice principals at our schools, and we believe that the decisions about uniform is best done at the school level. We encourage a consultative process.
Minister Williams explains that while the ministry is aware of the school policies, it expects that each school publish its policy.
Their local policy for the school should be written. It should be arrived at through a consultative process with all the stakeholders, meaning parents, teachers, students, and other stakeholders. The policy should not be discriminatory. The policy should recognize cultural differences, religious differences, and so on, but it must be applied fairly.
She notes that school uniforms have been a staple in Jamaican culture for generations and that they are a source of pride.
There is, great pride that schools take in designing their uniforms and in prescribing exactly what it should look like. I know that our schools do send out information, they post information on their website as to exactly what the uniforms should look like.
She alluded to the recent incident at Godfrey Stewart High School, where some students and parents alleged that students were locked out because they broke the school rule.
My position as a minister, our position as a ministry, is that we will continue to stand on the side of discipline, of law and order. We believe our schools are the ideal place in which to teach our students to obey rules, beginning with obeying the school rules.
The minister urged that if there are rules that any stakeholder, including parents and students, do not like, they are encouraged to engage the process. This, she said, would be via a meeting with a principal, and if dissatisfied, a letter to the board may suffice. For PBCJ News, I'm Carla Thomas Hewitt.
The Registrar General's Department, RGD, has resumed the printing of free birth certificates. That's a word from RGD's Chief Executive Officer, Charlton McFarlane. A week ago, the agency had to suspend the printing of the first free birth certificate and limited the maximum number of copies for which people could apply and pay for. The RGD said it was due to the supply chain logistical challenges sparked by the COVID-19 pandemic, which affected the production and shipment of the security paper used to print these certificates. They have since replenished their stock. Coming up in the business report, gas and diesel prices down by $4.50. Danita Rodney has the details, plus your regular market updates.
According to the latest expiry costs from Petrojam, motorists should see a decrease at the pumps in the prices of gasoline and diesel effective Thursday, September 29. With both grades down $4.50, 87-octane gasoline will sell for $193.16 per liter, while 90-octane gasoline will sell for $197.14 per liter. Continuing with the $4.50 decrease, automotive diesel fuel will sell for $220.26 per liter, and ultra-low sulfur diesel will sell for $227.25 per liter. Kerosene will see an increase of $3.06 and sell for $213.43 per liter. Propane liquid petroleum will sell for $60.68 per liter, down by $4.50, and butane liquid petroleum will sell for $67.87 per liter after a decrease of $4.09. Remember that marketing companies and retailers will add their respective markups to these prices. Business tycoon Michael Lee Chin is the PBCJ Hall of Fame inductee for 2022. Considered to be one of the most successful investors in Jamaica and Canada, Lee Chin is the 28th recipient of the prestigious honor awarded by the private sector organization of Jamaica. For your market updates, in foreign exchange trading for Wednesday, September 28, the US dollar sold for an average of $152.95. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $116.42. The pound sterling traded for $166.93, and the euro sold for an average of $149.28. In JSE trading, the JSE index declined by 2,103 points. The junior market index advanced by 49 points. The combined market index declined by 1,520 points. And the All Jamaican Composite Index declined by 388 points. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 108 stocks, of which 44 advanced, 47 declined, and 17 traded firm. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited Variable Preference, Access Financial Services Limited, and Barita Investments Limited. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, 1834 Investments Limited, and AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited. Trading firm were Blue Power Group Limited, Cargo Handlers Limited, and Epley Caribbean Property Fund Limited SCC. The overall volume leaders were Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with over 17 million units, Future Energy Source Company Limited ordinary shares with over 9 million units, and AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited with over 2 million units. In regional stocks, in Trinidad and Tobago, Clico Investment Fund was the only active security posting over 30,000 shares. On the Barbados Stock Exchange, Epley Caribbean Property Fund Development Fund was the sole security trading 40,000 shares. In regional business, the government of Barbados will soon have the potential to access more than $300 million to aid in the country's economic recovery and climate resilience efforts.
The IMF's mission chief for Barbados, Bert Van Selm, welcomed the staff-level agreement reached with the country for the two programs which aim to strike a balance between enhancing resilience to climate change while also focusing on Barbados's continued efforts to reduce public debt and facilitate public expenditure to produce growth.
On access to the IMF's new Resilience and Sustainability Trust to build resilience against climate change with affordable long-term financing, at 150% of quota, that's SDR 142 million. The RSF will be accompanied by a 36-month arrangement under the Extended Fund Facility, EFF, with requested access at 90% of quota, or SDR 85 million.
Barbados will become the first nation in the world to access the RSF, which will provide funding to support Barbados's climate change adaptation and mitigation efforts and support the country's ambitious goal of transitioning to a fully renewable-based economy by 2030.
In international business, the Bank of England has said it is making an emergency intervention to calm the market turmoil sparked by the United Kingdom government's tax cut plans. However, even higher interest rates are still likely, and that is worrying news for the country's property market.
Britain's housing mortgage market's in meltdown, and estate agent Jaspal Saini fears for his business. The government's plan for sweeping tax cuts and huge amounts of borrowing spooked investors, forcing dozens of lenders to pull hundreds of mortgage deals.
Buyers are understandably quite anxious about what's going to happen next. I think the key thing we've got to remember is buyers are also sellers. We're seeing a lower level of buyers coming to the markets. We've had a 40% reduction in buyers actually registering who've got mortgages approved in principle. And this is even, I think this trend's going to continue just with obviously suspension of certain mortgage products.
While buyers and sellers reevaluate their options, the International Monetary Fund, the lender of last resort, urged the British government to reconsider cutting taxes at a time of soaring inflation. The IMF fears it will spark a global slowdown and risks widening inequality, the kind of warning the IMF gives to emerging economies, not the UK. Last Friday, the Chancellor of the Exchequer announced a bonanza of tax cuts and debt-funded spending in the hopes of stimulating economic growth. But the move has spectacularly backfired, the value of the pound plummeting to its lowest level since 1985.
The whole market is in turmoil at the moment, and people are waiting for some conciliatory tones from either the Chancellor or the Bank of England to actually settle the markets down. And at the moment, that hasn't been forthcoming.
The figures forced the Bank of England on Wednesday to take evasive action and buy government bonds on a temporary basis to help calm the market. But within minutes, the pound fell again, down 1.6% against the dollar. As the pound falls, the cost of government borrowing on the international bond markets has gone up from an interest rate of around 1.5% to 2.5% to 5%, seemingly overnight, expressing a real lack of confidence from investors about the government's ability to pay for its own plans. UK debt is now seen by investors as being similar to Greece or Italy, countries with long histories of economic mismanagement.
In market data for oil prices firmed, erasing earlier losses on indications that OPEC might cut output. Brent crude futures rose 52 cents to $89.84 a barrel, and West Texas Intermediate crude rose 52 cents to $82.67 a barrel. And that was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Danita Rodney.
Thanks, Danita. In regional news, with COVID-19 travel restrictions easing around the globe, there was welcomed news from one of Barbados's key market sources. Anne-Marie Bailey has that story.
Barbados's tourism officials expect major developments in Canada to significantly increase arrivals from that key source market in the months ahead. Chief among them is today's announcement by Canada's federal government lifting all inbound COVID travel restrictions effective October 1st. Barbados Tourism Marketing Incorporated Director for Canada, Peter Mears, notes the news was met with rejoicing as it enhances the overall sentiment to travel and adds the development is timely.
Well, it comes at a good time for us. We are at the doorstep of winter, and with WestJet returning at the end of October 31st, and Air Canada ramping up to daily. We think this will help, and this will push the surge in demand that we're seeing in a very favorable way to partners on the ground. One of the things that WestJet in particular has been advocating for very quietly behind the scenes was an ease in the measures. So this announcement coming just as WestJet is about to restart to Barbados is a good thing.
Mr. Mears believes recently announced increased airlift from Canada to Barbados for the winter season will boost the sector.
And it's coming at a time now where these measures have been lifted. And there is such a demand for travel, leisure travel in particular, that we certainly will benefit from that. Air Canada will return to daily service from about mid-October. The Montreal service for Air Canada, 3 weekly flights, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. That commences mid-December. And then, as I said, WestJet starting their service, 4 weekly flights, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. And that's scheduled to commence October 31st.
While the BTMI actively promotes Barbados within Canada, he explains that other domestic developments stand to benefit the sector, particularly out of Western Canada.
The opportunity for us to grow business behind the gateway in Western Canada is quite ripe for the coming winter season. What this means for us certainly is the connectivity back into Toronto from Vancouver, from Calgary, from Edmonton is going to be strong. And it's the same thing with Air Canada as well. Seamless connections both through Toronto and Montreal.
Prior to COVID-19, Canada accounted for approximately 13 to 15% of inbound travel to Barbados. Anne-Marie Bailey, CBC News.
In Trinidad and Tobago, Minister of Social Development and Family Services, Donna Cox, believes there is a need for more men to become social workers.
Speaking to reporters during its Sign Language in Schools initiative, Minister Cox said social work is a field where not enough males are involved. She noted that she also encouraged students at St. Mary's College during a recent visit to consider a career in the field.
To think about getting involved in social welfare, getting involved in social work, because I think we have a shortage of men, and sometimes men want to relate to men, So therefore we encourage them to know that it's not just a woman's job, but social work is for all of us. You want to have a passion for people and you want to see persons do better and help empower them and so on. Of course, social work is one.
The ministry's Sign Language in Schools initiative continued at St. Mary's College and the Eastern Girls Government Primary School on Wednesday, where sign language posters were distributed. She said the ministry also has plans to raise awareness in the private sector about the need for individuals to be able to communicate with people who are hearing impaired.
We intend to now also embrace the business community and NGOs to get involved and be a part of learning sign language. So we're encouraging staff to be better able to communicate with persons who are deaf and hard of hearing.
Minister Cox also encouraged students to learn sign language since it can increase their marketability to future employers.
In the Bahamas, Prime Minister Philip Davis acknowledging the laundry list of what he says are his administration's accomplishments since taking office. But he's also saying that there's still a lot of work to be done.
Davis pointing to the sale of the Grand Lucayan Hotel and an RFP for Grand Bahamas Airport as successes.
We were successful in negotiating the introduction of a new direct flight services to Grand Bahama. Negotiations for the closing on the sale of Grand Lucayan are on track to close in November.
PM Davis also touting making available 47 new affordable homes in the Pinecrest community, adding that more are to come on a few islands. He also promoted the reduction of import duties and monitoring price control.
We have therefore reduced import duties on dozens of food items, including healthy options like fruits and vegetables. We have lifted the import ban on Canadian beef, which will lower the cost of meat to consumers. We have expanded the list of food items on the price control list and have also hired new price control inspectors to ensure compliance with price regulation requirements.
The relations between Guyana and Chile are now stronger than ever, and President Dr. Ifran Ali on Tuesday evening said the country could support Guyana's ambitious food security drive.
Today, Chile stands as a proud democracy, one of the more stable and prosperous nations of South America. We salute the many achievements of the Chilean people and wish it continued success in the future. Guyana and Chile have maintained excellent relations since the establishment of diplomatic ties in 1971. Over the past 51 years, we have cultivated strong ties of friendship and cooperation. If I may highlight the development of a strong and effective food safety authority. This is integral to the overall modernization of the agri-food system, not only nationally, but regionally, and with implications even beyond. Once fully established, the authority will contribute in no small measure to Guyana's positioning as a producer and exporter of food of the highest quality.
Among the matters to continue promoting, I allow myself to highlight the need to advance in more ambitious interrelation modalities, the topics of economic and commercial links with both Guyana and CARICOM in order to open markets and promote productive integration as a tool where added value is generated for both parties, the only way, in our opinion, to create long-term ties. The auspicious advances in the social and economic reality of Guyana represent an enormous potential and an important opportunity. In this sense, Mr. President, we wish your government and country the best of success in the search for a better future.
In international news, one of the most powerful storms to hit the United States in years has made landfall in the heavily populated Gulf Coast region. Streets are flooded in parts of Florida, and emergency services say some people are trapped in their homes.
With wind speeds topping 250 kilometers per hour, Hurricane Ian ripped across Florida's Gulf Coast Wednesday afternoon. Waves turned streets into rivers. Florida's governor warning the worst may still be to come.
It is going to have major impacts in terms of wind, in terms of rain, in terms of flooding. So this is going to be a nasty day, 2 days.
Tens of thousands of homes are without power as utility workers from 27 states prepare to descend as soon as the storm clears. About 2.5 million people were ordered to evacuate, but some stayed behind, risking everything.
It's my home. It's the only thing I have. I mean, and my mother, you know, I mean, if that goes, then what do you do?
It's been decades since a hurricane of this magnitude hit Florida's western coast. Curiosity drew some people out onto an exposed seabed earlier Wednesday, the water temporarily sucked away by the storm's low pressure.
It's so dangerous to be out there, so even if you see the water receding, it's not the time to go out there and look at it or collect shells or whatever it is.
The National Hurricane Center is warning of catastrophic storm surge, winds, and flooding across Florida. As people sheltered in place, President Joe Biden said the federal government would help with search and rescue and recovery. He is also warning the oil and gas industry not to raise gas prices.
Do not, let me repeat, do not use this as an excuse to raise gasoline prices or gouge the American people.
Ian's slow movement across Florida means the state will likely be pummeled for days to come. Heidi Jo Castro, Al Jazeera.
In sports, we're on the pitch with cricket. The 37-run defeat to Jamaica Tallawahs in Qualifier 2 means that the Guyana Amazon Warriors have crashed out of CPL 2022, and it will be Tallawahs against Barbados Royals in the final on Friday. We have more in this report from Newsroom Guyana.
I don't know how heart-wrenching is this. You guys would have fought so hard to get back in this position and then go out so tough to the Tallawahs.
I think we must take away some amount of credit because we were down and out heading into Guyana and we're winning 4 matches on the trot and then coming to this stage. I think it was a good fight from the guys, but at the end of the day, 226 on the board is always going to be challenging, and good luck to Jamaica. They played better cricket today and they deserve to win.
What was the backroom conversations before you came out on the field today? Because, you know, this is where things usually in the past would slip up for the Amazon Warriors. What have been the coach and the senior guys telling the players about how to keep calm under pressure today?
Well, it's the same attitude we approach cricket throughout. Whether we're 1 win from 5 games or 4 wins in 4, just go out and have fun. I think the guys put the best foot forward, but at the end of the day, Jamaica did better than us today and they won.
Any message to the fans? Look, the Amazon Warriors fans on social media are deflated. We're not going to get a title. What message would you send to them?
Well, of course, I would like to thank them for coming out and supporting us. Even the day game, I don't think much people expected during the week to have such a big crowd, and we had the support. But We're sorry that we let the fans down this time, but better luck next year.
And that's it for the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. You can follow us on all our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. And remember, we are the People's Station.